Hello guys, welcome to Fiction Quest. So in this video, we will see, what if Naruto awakened power of the Sky Dragon Slayer and fell in love with Wendy Marvell from Fairy Tail? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. Winds of Convergence. The wind shifted. Naruto Uzumaki paused on a high branch, his senses suddenly alert. Something was different about the air currents today, they seemed to whisper directly to him. Carrying messages he couldn't quite decipher. He'd always had an affinity for wind chakra, but this was new. The breeze felt almost alive. Hey, Naruto, what's the holdup? Sakura called from several trees ahead, her pink hair fluttering in the same wind that had given him pause. Nothing, he replied, shaking off the strange sensation. Just thought I felt something weird. It had been 6 months since the end of the Fourth Shinobi War. 6 months of rebuilding, healing, and adapting to a world without the immediate threat of Madara or Kagaya. Peace was still a fragile concept, and their current mission, investigating reports of unusual chakra fluctuations near the border, proved that vigilance remained necessary. Kakashi, recently appointed as the 6th Hokage Bu, accompanying them on this particular mission due to its potentially sensitive nature, landed beside Naruto with characteristic silence. "Your sense is picking up something?" he asked, his visible eye studying Naruto carefully. "Maybe. The wind feels different." Naruto struggled to articulate the sensation. "Like it's trying to tell me something." Kakashi raised an eyebrow but nodded. "Your connection to natural energy has deepened since mastering Sage Mode and the Nine Tails Chakra. Trust your instincts." They continued toward their destination, a remote valley where villagers had reported strange atmospheric disturbances. As they traveled, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that the air itself was changing around him. At times, he could almost see the currents, not just sense them as he did when using wind-style jutsu, but actually perceive their patterns and flows. "We're approaching the coordinates," Sai announced, dropping down from his aerial reconnaissance on a painted bird. There's definitely something unusual ahead. The air seems to be rippling." The team slowed their pace, approaching with caution. What they found in the clearing ahead stopped them in their tracks. A shimmering distortion hung in the air, about 20 feet across. It wasn't quite visible, more like heat rising from pavement on a summer day, but with occasional flashes of what looked like another landscape entirely. The air around it swirled unnaturally, creating a constant breeze that pulled toward the anomaly. "What is that?" Sakura whispered. Kakashi uncovered his Sharingan, studying the phenomenon carefully. "I've never seen anything like it. It's not genjutsu." Naruto stepped forward, drawn by something he couldn't explain. The strange connection he'd been feeling with the wind intensified near the distortion. "It's like a tear in the air itself." "Naruto, be careful," Kakashi warned, but his former student was already approaching the anomaly. As Naruto neared the rippling air, the currents around him became more agitated. He reached out with his senses, not just his eyes, and felt the wind responding to him in a way it never had before. Suddenly, a sharp pain lanced through his chest, bringing him to his knees. "Naruto!" Sakura rushed forward, medic instincts kicking in. Inside him, Kurama stirred. "Something strange is happening to your chakra, kid." Before Naruto could respond, the distortion in the air suddenly expanded with a sound like thunder. The team was thrown back by a shockwave as the ripple tore open completely, revealing what appeared to be a portal. Through it, they could see glimpses of mountains, forests, and buildings unlike any in their world. "Everyone, defensive positions," Kakashi ordered, preparing a jutsu. But Naruto remained transfixed, pain in his chest subsiding as quickly as it had come. The wind was now howling around the portal, and he could feel it calling to him in a language just beyond his understanding. Then, someone fell through. A small figure tumbled from the portal, rolling across the grass before coming to a stop. As the dust settled, they saw it was a young girl with long blue hair, wearing unfamiliar clothing. She appeared to be in her early teens. Disoriented but unharmed. Where am I?" she murmured, slowly sitting up and scanning her surroundings with wide brown eyes. When her gaze landed on the ninja team, she tensed visibly. Who are you people? What happened to Magnolia? Kakashi signaled the others to hold position as he stepped forward, hands visible in a non-threatening gesture. We mean you no harm. My name is Kakashi Hatake. You've just appeared through some kind of portal in our world. The girl's eyes widened further. Another world. She looked back at the portal, which was already beginning to shrink. No, Carla, everyone. She tried to stand but stumbled, clearly exhausted. Naruto felt a strange surge of protectiveness. He moved forward despite Kakashi's warning glance, kneeling beside the girl. Hey, it's okay. We'll help you. Something passed between them as their eyes met, a recognition that transcended their different worlds. The wind swirled gently around them both. You, she whispered, staring at Naruto with sudden intensity. You smell like the sky. Before Naruto could process this bizarre statement, a terrifying roar echoed from the portal. The SHR, inking gateway suddenly expanded again as massive claws reached through, followed by a creature that defied description, part wolf, part lizard, with scales that shifted color like oil on water. It followed me, the blue-haired girl cried, struggling to her feet. A void hunter. They're drawn to dimensional disturbances. The monster fully emerged, easily the size of a small building, its multiple eyes scanning the clearing before focusing on the girl. It let out another bone-chilling roar. What the hell is that thing? Sakura demanded, pulling on her combat gloves. Doesn't matter, Naruto replied, already forming a Rasengan. It's not staying. He charged forward as the creature lunged toward the blue-haired girl. His Rasengan slammed into the monster's flank, but instead of the expected impact, the jutsu seemed to distort and weaken. The creature barely flinched, swinging a massive tail that sent Naruto flying into a tree. Physical attacks won't work well, the girl warned, steadying herself. It's partially out of phase with your dimension. Despite her obvious exhaustion, she took a wide stance, drawing a deep breath. Sky Dragon's roar. A tornado of wind erupted from her mouth, striking the creature and actually pushing it back. Naruto stared in amazement. Her attack had worked where his failed, and it was unmistakably wind-based, yet entirely different from any wind jutsu he'd seen. Kakashi and the others joined the battle, their attacks having minimal effect. Sai's ink beasts passed right through parts of the creature, while Sakura's earth-shattering punches only connected partially. Its physical form isn't fully materialized in our dimension yet, Kakashi called out, his Sharingan tracking the monster's movements. Only certain types of attacks will be effective. Naruto pulled himself up, feeling a strange resonance with the blue-haired girl's magic. The wind around him responded differently now, almost eager. Acting on instinct, he channeled chakra in a new way, focusing on the sensation he'd felt when watching her attack. Wind style, he began, but what came next surprised even him. Sky Dragon's fist. His hand enveloped in swirling wind, Naruto launched himself at the creature. When his punch connected, the effect was immediate and dramatic. The monster shrieked as the attack tore through its partially phased body, leaving visible damage. He blue-haired girl stared at him in shock. How did you? You're a dragon slayer. I don't know what that is, Naruto replied, equally confused by what he'd just done. But whatever works against this thing, I'm doing it. The creature recovered quickly, focusing its rage on Naruto now. It fired a beam of distorted energy that he barely dodged, the attack disintegrating the trees behind him. We need to hit it together. The girl called out. Follow my lead. She began gathering magic, the air around her glowing with power. Naruto found himself instinctively mirroring her movements, the wind responding to them both in harmony. Sky dragons. They began simultaneously. Wing attack, she cried. Cyclone barrage. Naruto finished. Their combined assault created something entirely new, a spiraling vortex of wind and light that engulfed the creature completely. For a moment, it seemed to flicker between dimensions before letting out a final, desperate roar as its body disintegrated into particles of light. The aftermath of the battle left everyone breathless. The portal had closed completely, leaving no trace of its existence except for the devastated clearing and their unexpected visitor. The blue-haired girl swayed on her feet, exhaustion finally claiming her. Naruto moved quickly, catching her before she hit the ground. Nice catch, Sakura commented, hurrying over to check the girl's condition. She's just exhausted. No serious injuries. Who is she? Sai wondered aloud. And what was that creature? Kakashi approached, studying the spot where the portal had been. More importantly, what was that technique you used, Naruto? I've never seen wind chakra manipulated that way. Naruto looked down at the unconscious girl in his arms, feeling a connection he couldn't explain. I don't know. It just happened. Like the wind was telling me what to do. We need to get her back to the village, Kakashi decided. Lady Tsunade should examine her, and we need to report this immediately. If these portals are appearing elsewhere, I'll carry her, Naruto said, already adjusting his hold to a more comfortable position. The others exchanged glances but didn't object. As they traveled back to Konoha, Naruto found himself wondering about the girl and her strange powers. Sky Dragon, she had called it. And she'd seemed to recognize something similar in him. The wind continued to dance around them both. Even as she slept, as if celebrating a reunion long overdue, Wendy Marvell woke to an unfamiliar ceiling. She sat up quickly, memories flooding back, the distortion in the air while she'd been returning from a solo mission, being pulled through against her will, the fight alongside the blonde-haired boy who somehow used Sky Dragon Slayer magic. Easy there, came a gentle female voice. A woman with blonde hair tied in 2 ponytails stood nearby, her hands glowing with what appeared to be healing magic. You're safe. Where am I? Wendy asked, taking in the hospital-like room. You're in Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves. I'm Tsunade, former Hokage and head medic. The woman studied her with intelligent eyes. And you are? Wendy Marvell. I'm a wizard from Fairy Tail Guild in Fury. She paused, seeing the blank look on Tsunade's face. Which doesn't exist in this world, does it? Tsunade sighed. Apparently not. Kakashi and the others told me what happened. You came through some kind of dimensional portal. Tears welled in Wendy's eyes as the reality of her situation hit her. My friends. My guild. Carla. They must be so worried. Tsunade's expression softened. We're investigating what happened. If there's a way to send you home, we'll find it. The door opened, and the blonde-haired boy from before entered, his face lighting up when he saw her awake. Hey, you're up. How are you feeling? There was something immediately disarming about his broad smile and open demeanor. Wendy couldn't help smiling back despite her situation. I'm okay, thank you. For helping me fight that Void Hunter too. Naruto. Tsunade addressed him. I thought I told you to wait until I called for you. He rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Sorry, Granny Tsunade. I just wanted to check on her. Tsunade rolled her eyes but didn't seem truly annoyed. Well, since you're here, perhaps you can explain what happened with your jutsu during the battle. Naruto's expression turned more serious. I'm not sure myself. It was like, the wind just responded differently. He looked at Wendy. After I saw you use that roar thing. Sky Dragon Slayer magic, Wendy supplied. It's a lost magic from my world, taught to me by my dragon mother, Grandini. Dragon mother. Naruto's eyes widened. I think you two have a lot to discuss, Tsunade said. Wendy, the medical team has cleared you. You're in good health, just needed rest. She turned to Naruto. Show her around the village, but don't overwhelm her. And bring her to the Hokage Tower at sunset. We're holding a meeting about this situation. After Tsunade left, Naruto approached Wendy's bedside. So, dragons, huh? That's pretty cool. We have the tailed beasts here, but they're not exactly the same. Tailed beasts. Naruto grinned. I've got the 9 tails sealed inside me. His name's Kurama. As if on cue, Wendy sensed a different energy within him, ancient and powerful. Her Dragon Slayer senses allowed her to perceive things others couldn't. I can sense him, she said with wonder. But that's not what I noticed about you during the fight. You have the scent of a Sky Dragon Slayer. Naruto looked confused. What does that mean? It means you somehow have the same type of magic I do, but that should be impossible unless. She trailed off, thinking. The dimensional rift must have affected you somehow. Maybe because you already had wind abilities. I do have wind-style chakra, Naruto confirmed. It's been acting weird lately, even before we found the portal. A thought occurred to Wendy. Can you try something for me? Take a deep breath and focus on the air around you. Naruto did as she asked, closing his eyes. As he concentrated, Wendy could see the air currents responding to him just as they did to her. Now, try to heal this. She picked up a small knife from the nearby medical tray and made a tiny cut on her finger. Hey, don't hurt yourself, Naruto protested. It's okay. Just try to focus healing energy into the air around my cut. Looking doubtful but willing, Naruto held his hands near hers and concentrated. To his evident shock, a soft blue glow emanated from his palms, and Wendy's small cut closed instantly. Whoa, he exclaimed, staring at his hands. That wasn't medical ninjutsu. That was something else entirely. Wendy nodded, her suspicions confirmed. That's Sky Dragon healing magic. Somehow, you've awakened Dragon Slayer abilities. Naruto sat on the edge of the bed, processing this information. So I'm like you now. A Dragon Slayer, but I never met a dragon. That's what makes it so strange, Wendy admitted. Dragon Slayers in my world either learned directly from dragons or had lacrima implanted in them. This is unprecedented. A moment of silence passed between them as they both contemplated the implications. Well, Naruto finally said, standing and offering his hand, unprecedented or not, I promise to show you around. And I never go back on my word, that's my ninja way. Wendy took his hand, feeling a warmth spread through her at his optimism despite the gravity of their situation. Thank you, Naruto. Konoha was unlike any city Wendy had seen in Earthland. The architecture, the clothing, the very way people carried themselves spoke of a world with different rules and history. Yet here was something comfortingly familiar about the sense of community, not unlike Fairy Tail. And that's Ichiraku ramen. Best food in the entire village, Naruto explained enthusiastically as they walked through the streets. We definitely have to eat there before you go back to your world. The casual way he mentioned her return home made Wendy smile, grateful for his confidence that she would find a way back. It smells delicious, she agreed, her enhanced Dragon Slayer senses picking up the savory aroma even from a distance. As they continued their tour, Wendy noticed people giving Naruto respectful nods and friendly waves. You seem well liked here. Naruto chuckled. Wasn't always that way. For a long time, people feared me because of Kurama. But things changed during the war. His expression grew more somber. The Fourth Shinobi World War. It ended about 6 months ago. A lot of good people died, but we managed to stop Madara and Kagaya from trapping everyone in an eternal illusion. Wendy recognized the weight of loss in his voice. She'd heard it often enough after Fairy Tail's own battles. In my world, we recently faced a dark wizard named Zirf and a dragon called Aknologia. Sometimes I still have nightmares about it. Naruto looked at her with newfound respect. You fought in a war too. But you're younger than I look, she finished with a small smile. I'm actually older than I appear due to something that happened on Tenro Island. It's complicated. Everything about magic seems complicated, Naruto said with a laugh. Probably like how our chakra system would seem to you. As they reached a training ground, Naruto suddenly stopped. Hey, I have an idea. Why don't you teach me more about this Dragon Slayer stuff? And I can show you some ninja techniques. Might be useful while you're here. Wendy brightened at the suggestion. I'd like that. Sky Dragon magic focuses on air manipulation, healing, and support enchantments. It's not as destructive as some other Dragon Slayer types. But it's versatile. Sounds perfect for someone like me who already works with wind chakra, Naruto observed. Where do we start? For the next couple of hours, they exchanged knowledge. Wendy demonstrated the fundamentals of Sky Dragon magic, how to sense air currents, manipulate them for attack and defense, and channel healing energy. Naruto showed her the basics of chakra control, hand signs, and his signature shadow clone jutsu. To Wendy's surprise, Naruto proved to be an incredibly quick study when it came to Dragon Slayer magic, his body adapting to he techniques as if he'd been born to them. In turn, she struggled with the more technical aspects of ninjutsu but found her innate magic sense helpful in understanding chakra flow. It's amazing how different yet similar our powers are, Wendy said as she attempted to maintain a small transformation jutsu Naruto had taught her. The clone of herself wavered then dissipated in a puff of smoke. Though I clearly need more practice. Naruto was floating several inches off the ground, having successfully executed a Sky Dragon's hover technique. This is incredible. The things I could do in battle with this. A noise from the edge of the training ground interrupted them. A man with long dark hair and pale, Pupil-less eyes stood watching their practice. Neji, Naruto called out, dropping back to the ground. What brings you here? Wendy noticed the newcomer studying her with those strange eyes, and felt a slight chill at the intensity of his gaze. Kakashi-sama sent me to find you, Neji replied formally. The council meeting is about to begin. They're expecting both of you. Already, Naruto looked at the setting sun. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. As they followed Neji through the village, Wendy whispered to Naruto, his eyes are different. Is that a magic ability? The Byakugan, Naruto explained quietly. It's a Kekkei Genkei, a bloodline ability. The Hyuga Claw, N can see chakra pathways and have nearly 360-degree vision with those eyes. That's intimidating. Neji's okay once you get to know him. He used to be super uptight about fate and destiny, but we worked that out. Naruto grinned. With our fists. They arrived at the Hokage Tower to find several people already gathered in a large meeting room. Wendy recognized Kakashi and Sakura from the previous day, along with Tsunade. Several older individuals sat around a table, along with a few ninja Wendy hadn't met. Ah, good, you're here, Kakashi said from behind his mask. Wendy, I hope Naruto has been a suitable guide to our village. He's been very kind, she replied with a small bow. An elderly man with bandages covering half his face spoke up. So this is the girl from another dimension. And what information have you gleaned from her, Lord Hokage? The tone made Wendy uncomfortable, as if she were an object to be studied rather than a person. Wendy has been forthcoming about her woe. RLD and the circumstances that brought her here, Kakashi replied evenly. This meeting is to discuss our findings and determine next steps. For the next hour, Wendy answered questions about her world, magic, fairy tale, and the dimensional rift. She described the Void Hunter and explained what little she knew about interdimensional travel, mostly from books she'd read in the guild library. Throughout the questioning, she noticed the bandaged man, whom she learned was named Danzo, watching her with calculating interest that made her uneasy. Naruto seemed to notice her discomfort, subtly positioning himself between her and Danzo whenever possible. And this Dragon Slayer magic, Danzo finally spoke directly to her. You say it's rare in your world. Yes, there are only a handful of Dragon Slayers left. Yet Naruto has somehow acquired these abilities without training, Danzo pressed. How convenient. What's that supposed to mean? Naruto challenged. Tsunade intervened. We've examined Naruto thoroughly. Whatever happened when he encountered the dimensional rift, it seems to have awakened latent abilities similar to Wendy's magic. His chakra pathways have been altered, but not dangerously so. The more pressing concern, Kakashi redirected, is whether these rifts will continue to appear, and what that means for both our worlds. A researcher from the Intelligence Division PR presented findings from the site of the portal. We've detected residual energy consistent with the distortion. More concerning, we've identified 3 other locations showing similar energy patterns, though no portals have formed yet. It's possible they're like thin spots between our worlds, Wendy suggested. In Earthland, we have records of dimensional boundaries weakening periodically throughout history. The meeting continued with discussion of security measures, research initiatives, and what to do about Wendy's presence in their world. For now, she should remain under observation, Danzo insisted. She's not a prisoner, Naruto objected. She's a victim of whatever's happening. I agree with Naruto, Tsunade said firmly. Wendy has shown no hostility and has freely shared information that could help us. She should be treated as an honored guest, not a suspect. Kakashi nodded. Wendy will stay in the diplomatic quarters under Naruto's supervision, since he seems to share her abilities now. This arrangement will allow them to continue comparing notes on these powers while keeping her close enough for protection and consultation. Danzo looked displeased but didn't argue further. As the meeting concluded, Kakashi pulled Naruto and Wendy aside. There's something else. We've received reports of strange weather patterns near the land of rivers, consistent with the atmospheric disturbances that preceded the rift you encountered. I'm sending a team to investigate tomorrow. I'd like you both to join them. Another portal might be opening. Wendy asked, hope rising in her chest. It could be a way home. Possibly, Kakashi cautioned, but it could also mean more creatures like the one you fought. Be prepared for either scenario. As they left the tower, the night air cool against their skin. Naruto noticed Wendy's pensive expression. Thinking about home, she nodded. I'm worried about my friends. Especially Carla. She's my exceed partner. She must be frantic. We'll find a way to get you back, Naruto promised. Believe it. His confidence was infectious, and Wendy found herself smiling despite her concerns. Thank you, Naruto, for everything. Hey, it's what friends do, he replied with a grin. And besides, how many people can say they've made friends with someone from another dimension? As they walked toward the diplomatic quarters where Wendy would be staying, neither noticed the shadowy figure watching them from a rooftop, a man with strange markings on his face and eyes that seemed to shift between different colors. So the convergence has begun, the figure murmured. A sky dragon slayer in each world, just as the prophecy foretold. With a gesture, he opened a small rift in the air and stepped through, vanishing without a trace. Morning brought new challenges. Wendy woke early, her dragon slayer senses picking up the subtle changes in air pressure that preceded dawn. The diplomatic quarters were comfortable but alien, nothing like her room at Fairy Hills or the chaotic warmth of the guild hall. A knock at her door revealed Sakura, holding a bundle of clothing. Good morning. I thought you might want something more suitable for traveling in our world. Your clothes are distinctive. Wendy accepted the offering gratefully. Thank you. That's very thoughtful. No problem. Naruto can be oblivious about these things, Sakura said with a fond eye roll. He'd probably let you walk around in wizard clothes drawing attention everywhere. As Wendy changed into the more ninja-appropriate attire, comfortable pants, a blue tunic, and a lightweight vest, she felt a strange mix of emotions. The clothes were practical and similar enough to her own style not to feel completely foreign, but they represented another step away from her identity as a fairy tale wizard. She kept her guild mark visible, unwilling to conceal that part of herself. When she emerged, Sakura nodded approvingly. Perfect. And I see you kept your guild emblem showing. Naruto told me how important it is to you. It's more than just a mark, Wendy explained as they walked. It's a promise that no matter where I go, I'm never alone. Fairy tale is always with me. Sakura's expression softened. That sounds a lot like how we feel about being Konoha shinobi. The will of fire connects us all, even when we're apart. They arrived at the village gates to find Naruto already waiting with two others, a man with his hair tied up in a spiky ponytail and a serious expression, and a young woman with long blonde hair tied in a ponytail. Wendy, Naruto waved enthusiastically. Meet the rest of our team. This is Shikamaru, smartest guy in the village, and Ino. They're sensory types who can help us locate dimensional disturbances. What a drag, Shikamaru muttered, though he nodded politely to Wendy. Another troublesome mission. Don't mind him, Ino said brightly. He complains about everything. It's nice to meet you, Wendy. We've heard a lot about your world. Mostly from Naruto talking non-stop, Sakura added with a smirk. Hey, I was just filling them in on the mission details, Naruto protested. Including a 20-minute description of how awesome magic guilds sound. Shikamaru drawled. Their friendly banter reminded Wendy painfully of Fairy Tail, but she pushed the homesickness aside. I'm happy to meet you both. Thank you for helping. As they set out toward the land of rivers, Wendy found herself naturally falling into step beside Naruto. Something about his presence was comforting, perhaps the familiar sensation of sky dragon magic that now emanated from him. Or simply his unflagging optimism. How are you feeling about your new abilities? She asked as they traveled. Naruto flexed his hand, a small spiral of wind forming above his palm. It's weird but amazing. Like I've always had these powers but never knew how to access them until now. He looked at her curiously. Is that how it was for you when Grandini taught you? Wendy shook her head. Not exactly. I was very young when she found me. Learning Dragon Slayer magic was just part of growing up for me. I didn't know any other kind of magic first. Must have been cool, being raised by a dragon. It was wonderful, Wendy agreed, smiling at the memories. Grandini was strict but kind. She taught me that healing was as important as fighting, that true strength comes from protecting others. Naruto's expression turned thoughtful. That sounds like something the third Hokage used to say. The strongest ninja aren't the ones who master the most jutsu, but He ones who have something precious to protect. Their conversation paused as Shikamaru signaled for the team to stop. They had been traveling for several hours and had reached the border of the Land of Rivers. We should be approaching the coordinates Kakashi gave us, he said, studying a map. Ino, can you do a mind scan of the area? Ino formed a hand sign, closing her eyes in concentration. After a moment, she opened them with a frown. There's definitely something odd about half a mile northeast. The wildlife is behaving erratically, avoiding a specific area. Like with the other portal, Sakura noted. Animals sensed it before we could see it. They proceeded with caution, moving through the forested terrain silently as only trained ninja could. Wendy found herself impressed by our stealth and tried to mimic their movements, though she lacked their lifetime of training. I sense it, Naruto whispered suddenly. The air feels like it did before, like it's thinning. Wendy nodded, feeling it too. The dimensional barrier is weakening here. They crested a small hill and saw it, another shimmering distortion, this one larger than the one that had brought Wendy through. It pulsed with energy, occasional flashes revealing glimpses of what looked like a city. Magnolia. Wendy gasped, recognizing the cathedral spire visible through one of the flashes. That's my home. Hope surged through her, but before she could move toward the portal, Naruto grabbed her arm. Wait, something's not right. As if confirming his suspicion, the portal suddenly fluctuated violently, expa. NDING and contracting in rapid succession. The air around it darkened, and a sense of malevolence emanated from the rift. It's unstable, Shikamaru observed, his tactical mind quickly assessing the situation. And something's interfering with it. A figure stepped out of the shadows near the portal, the same man who had been watching Naruto and Wendy the previous night. Up close, they could see Hi's features more clearly. Pale skin marked with swirling patterns that seemed to shift colors, and eyes that changed from blue to purple to black as they watched. Who are you? Sakura demanded, taking a defensive stance. The man smiled, a cold expression that didn't reach his ever-changing eyes. My name is Kato Void. I am the Keeper of Dimensions, and you are witnessing the beginning of a new era. Did you create these portals? Naruto asked, stepping forward. Create? No. Guide. Direct. Enhance. Perhaps. Kato's voice had an unsettling echo quality. The barriers between worlds thin naturally at times. I merely help the process along. Wendy studied him intently, something about his presence triggering a memory. You have the scent of a dragon slayer, she realized aloud. But different, corrupted somehow. Kato's smile widened. Perceptive, little sky maiden. Yes, I was once a dragon slayer, long ago. The void dragon taught me well before I transcended such limited power. What do you want? Shikamaru asked, his shadow stretching subtly toward Kato. Want? I want what any visionary wants, to remake a flawed system. Kato gestured to the portal. Your worlds are separate but should not be. Magic and chakra, two sides of the same cosmic energy. The artificial boundaries between dimensions are an abomination that I intend to correct. While he spoke, Ino had been attempting to probe his mind. But she suddenly gasped and broke the connection. His thoughts, they're not human. It's like looking into an abyss. Kato laughed. Mind techniques won't work on one who exists between dimensions. Little Yamanaka. The casual use of Ino's clan name sent a chill through the group. This stranger knew too much about their world. Whatever you're planning stops now, Naruto declared, his chakra flaring visibly around him. Both his Nine Tails power and the newer Sky Dragon energy responded to his emotions. Fascinating, Kato observed. You've already begun to merge the energies. Ahead of schedule, but not unwelcome. Before anyone could respond, Kato made a complex gesture. The portal behind him pulsed again, and the air filled with a high-pitched whine. Concert. This a demonstration of what's to come. The distortion suddenly split into multiple smaller rifts that scattered across the clearing. Through each one, different creatures began to emerge, some resembling the void hunter they'd fought before, others entirely new and equally monstrous. These dimensional parasites are drawn to the barriers between worlds, Kato explained casually. They'll seek out and devour any energy they find. Chakra, magic, life force. It makes no difference to them. You're releasing them deliberately. Wendy realized in horror. Of course. Chaos precedes order, always. With another gesture, Kato opened a small personal rift. I'll leave you to your new friends. Do try to survive, especially you two sky wielders. You're important to what comes next. As Kato stepped through his portal and vanished, the creatures fully emerged, their attention focusing on the ninja team. Formation. Shikamaru called out, instantly taking tactical command. Ino, establish telepathic link. Sakura, defensive position. Naruto, Wendy, your abilities worked against these things before. You're our front line. Naruto created a dozen shadow clones that spread out to engage the various creatures. Wendy cast Vernier on herself and Naruto, enhancing their speed. What's happening? Naruto asked, feeling suddenly lighter. Support magic, Wendy explained quickly. It boosts your physical abilities temporarily. One of the parasites, a six-legged creature with translucent skin revealing shifting organs, launched itself at Sakura. She dodged with enhanced speed thanks to Wendy's spell and counterattacked with a chakra-enhanced punch that connected more solidly than expected. The Vernier helps our attacks connect better with their partially phased bodies. Sakura called out. Shikamaru managed to trap two smaller creatures with his shadow possession jutsu, though the technique seemed to strain him more than usual. Something about these things resists chakra control. Naruto and Wendy found themselves back to back, surrounded by three of the largest parasites. Without discussion, they fell into a natural rhythm, their sky abilities complementing each other perfectly. Sky Dragon's wing attack, Wendy cried, sending cutting blades of wind toward one creature. Wind style. Rasenshuriken. Naruto launched his signature technique at another. The combined assault created a storm of wind that tore through two of the monsters, reducing them to particles. The third lunged at Wendy, but Naruto was there instantly, a Sky Dragon's talon attack forming around his foot as he kicked the creature away. Across the clearing, Ino and Sakura coordinated to take down another parasite, while Shikamaru used his shadows to manipulate one creature into the path of another's attack. There are too many, Ino called out as more began to emerge from the remaining rifts. Wendy surveyed the situation, an idea forming. Naruto, the main portal. If we can close it, the smaller rifts might collapse too. How do we do that? He asked, dispatching another creature with a Rasengan enhanced by Sky Dragon energy. In my world, Dragon Slayers can sometimes affect dimensional gates related to their element. Wendy explained quickly. If we combine our sky magic and target the main distortion. Understanding dawned on Naruto's face. Like we did against the first monster. Shikamaru, overheard through Ino's telepathic link. We'll cover you. Get to the main portal. The team shifted their efforts, creating a path for Naruto and Wendy to reach the largest rift. As they fought their way toward it, Wendy began instructing Naruto on the specific technique she had in mind. It's called a unison raid in my world. A perfect synchronization of two compatible magics, she explained between attacks. We need to harmonize our breathing and our magic circles. Magic circles. The patterns your power forms when fully expressed. Just follow my lead and trust your instincts. They reached the main portal, which continued to pulse ominously, occasionally showing glimpses of magnolia. Wendy felt a pang seeing her home so close yet unreachable in the portal's current unstable state. Ready? She asked, taking a stance beside Naruto. He nodded, mirroring her position. Let's do this. Together, they began to gather power. The air around them spiraled inward, forming visible currents that glowed with energy. Wendy's hair lifted in the magical wind, her body suffused with a pale blue light. To her amazement, Naruto displayed the same phenomenon, his usual chakra aura taking on the distinctive color of Sky Dragon magic. Now, Sky Dragons, secret art. They called in unison. Milky Way. Dimensional seal. Wendy cried. Heaven's breath. World barrier. Naruto finished, the words coming to him instinctively. Their combined power shot forward in a massive beam of swirling wind and light. When it struck the portal, the distortion seemed to resist at first, the edges fluctuating violently. Then, with a sound like 1,000 wind chimes, the rift began to collapse inward. The smaller portals followed suit, snapping closed one by one. The remaining creatures shrieked as they were pulled back toward the main distortion, their bodies dissolving as the dimensional gateway rejected them. With a final pulse of energy, the main portal closed completely, but not before Wendy caught a last glimpse of Magnolia. And what looked like figures running toward the rift from the other side. Lucy. Gray, she whispered, but it was too late. The portal vanished, leaving only a faint shimmer in the air that quickly faded. The sudden silence was deafening. Wendy fell to her knees, exhaustion and disappointment overwhelming her. She had been so close to home. Naruto knelt beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I'm sorry, I know you were hoping." "No," she interrupted, wiping away tears. "You have nothing to apologize for. We had to close it, it was too unstable. Those creatures would have kept coming." The others joined them, all showing signs of battle but fortunately no serious injuries. "That technique was incredible," Sakura said, looking at the spot where the portal had been. "I've never seen chakra manipulated that way." "It wasn't just chakra," Shikamaru observed. "It was something else entirely." Ino helped Wendy to her feet. "Are you okay?" Wendy nodded, though her heart felt heavy. "I saw my friends on the other side, just before it closed. They're looking for me." "That's good news," Naruto said encouragingly. "It means they know Somethi. Ing happened to you and they're trying to find you. And if Kato can create or enhance these portals, there will be more opportunities." "But what did he mean about you two being important to what comes next?" Sakura wondered. Shikamaru frowned thoughtfully. "And why did he call himself the Keeper of Dimensions? There's a lot more going on here than random rifts between worlds." "Whatever he's planning," Naruto said firmly, "we'll stop him, and we'll find a stable way to get Wendy home in the process." As they gathered themselves and prepared to return to Konoha with their report, Wendy Fu ND herself studying Naruto with new appreciation. Despite knowing her for barely a day, he had fought alongside her, helped close a dangerous portal, and remained optimistic about her chances of returning home. There was something special about him that went beyond his newfound Dragon Slayer abilities. The wind shifted around them, carrying the scent of the forest and the fading trace of otherworldly energy. For the first time since arriving in this strange world, Wendy felt something beside fear and homesickness, a spark of hope, kindled by the unexpected friendship of a ninja who somehow shared her rare magic. "Thank you," she said quietly to Naruto as they began their journey back. "For what?" "For believing we'll find a solution. In Fairy Tail, we have a saying, as long as we have faith in our future, we can live in the present." "I think I needed that reminder." Naruto grinned, the expression lighting up his entire face. "Well, in Konoha we say, believe it. So between your faith and my belief, we're definitely going to figure this out." His optimism was contagious, and Wendy found herself smiling despite everything. Whatever challenges lay ahead, interdimensional villains, mysterious portals, or dangerous creatures, she wouldn't face them alone. The sky above them was vast and blue, the same sky that stretched over Earthland in another dimension. As Sky Dragon Slayers, P.S. they were more connected to both worlds than anyone. In that connection, Wendy found comfort as they journeyed back to Konoha, the wind carrying them forward toward an uncertain but hopeful future. Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Gathering storms. Kakashi listened intently as Shikamaru delivered their mission report, his visible eye betraying none of the concern building within him. The Hokage's off. Ice had fallen silent save for the tactician precise account of their encounter with Kato Void and the dimensional parasites. "So this Keeper of Dimensions claims he's manipulating the rifts deliberately," Kakashi summarized when Shikamaru finished. "And he has a specific interest in Naruto and Wendy." "That's correct," Shikamaru confirmed. "His abilities surpass anything we've encountered before. He moved between dimensions effortlessly, and his knowledge of both worlds suggests he's been observing us for some time." Tsunade, who had joined the debriefing at Kakashi's request, frowned deeply. "And you say he was once a dragon slayer like Wendy?" "According to her, yes," Sakura replied, though she described his magic as corrupted. Danzo, standing near the window with his lone visible eye fixed on the village below, turned slightly. "This confirms my concerns. These dimensional disturbances represent an unprecedented threat to Konoha's security. We should be mobilizing Anbu, no, Chi relying on a handful of Jonin and a foreign magic user." "Wendy helped us seal the portal," Naruto interjected, bristling at Danzo's tone. "Without her knowledge of Dragon Slayer techniques, we cool." Didn't have stopped those creatures from invading. A convenient narrative, Danzo replied coldly. Yet it seems every encounter with these rifts leaves you with more of these foreign powers, Uzumaki. One might question where your priorities lie. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Naruto stepped forward, but Kakashi raised a hand, silencing him before the situation escalated. Wendy Marvell has proven herself an ally, the Hokage stated firmly, and the combination of her magic with Naruto's abilities may be our best defense against these incursions. That said, I agree additional security measures are warranted. He turned to the assembled shinobi. Shikamaru, coordinate with the sensor division to establish a detection network for these dimensional disturbances. Sakura, work WITH the medical corps to develop countermeasures for injuries caused by these interdimensional parasites. What about us? Naruto asked, gesturing to himself and Wendy, who had remained quiet during most of the debriefing. You two will continue developing your combined techniques, Kakashi decided. If Kato specifically mentioned Sky Dragon Slayers as important to his plans, understanding the full extent of those abilities becomes critical. Danzo's disapproval was palpable, but he offered no further objection. As the meeting concluded and the others filed out, he remained behind with Kakashi. You're making a mistake, he said once they were alone. The girl is an unknown quantity, and Naruto is too emotionally invested to be objective. Kakashi regarded the elder shinobi carefully. Your concern is noted, Lord Danzo. But I've found that bonds of friendship often prove stronger than bonds of duty alone. If there's anyone who can turn this situation to Konoha's advantage, it's Naruto. Friendship, Danzo repeated, the word sounding foreign on his lips. A luxury we cannot afford in these dangerous times. Remember, Hokage, your responsibility is to this village, not to interdimensional visitors. No matter how convenient their powers might seem. He turned to leave, his cane tapping a measured rhythm against the floor. At the doorway, he paused. The Foundation will be conducting its own investigation into these rifts. For Konoha's security. After Danzo departed, Kakashi moved to the window, gazing out at the village as afternoon shadows lengthened across the streets. Something about this entire situation felt orchestrated, as if they were pieces being moved on a board by unseen hands. And like any good strategist, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were several moves behind. The training ground erupted in a swirl of wind as Naruto and Wendy's techniques collided, creating a momentary tornado that scattered leaves and bent the surrounding grass flat. 3 weeks of constant practice had dramatically improved their control, allowing them to manipulate air currents with increasing precision. Better, Wendy called out, her blue hair whipping around her face as she maintained her stance. You're stabilizing the vortex much longer now. Naruto grinned, his own spiral of wind dancing around his outstretched hands. This Dragon Slayer magic is amazing. Chi feels completely different from regular wind-style jutsu, more alive somehow. They released their techniques simultaneously, allowing the winds to dissipate harmlessly. Wendy approached, her trained healer's eye assessing Naruto for signs of fatigue. You're adapting incredibly fast, she noted with admiration. It took me years to master some of these techniques, but you're picking them up in days. I've always been a quick study with the right teacher, Naruto replied, dropping to sit cross-legged on the grass. Besides, I think having wind nature chakra already gave me a head start. Wendy sat beside him, pulling her knees to her chest as she gazed across the training ground. After 3 weeks in Konoha, she'd grown more comfortable with her surroundings, though the ache of homesickness remained a constant companion. Do you think we'll be ready if Kato returns? She asked quietly. Naruto's expression turned serious. I don't know. That guy was on a whole different level, like he wasn't fully in our dimension even when he was standing right in front of us. He flexed his hand, a small spiral of wind forming above his palm. But every day I understand these powers better, and with both of us working together. He left the thought unfinished, but Wendy nodded in understanding. Their combined abilities grew stronger with each training session, creating techniques neither could achieve alone. In Fairy Tale, she said after a moment, we have a saying, when two hearts believe in the same future, their magic becomes stronger. I think that's what's happening with our Sky Dragon magic. Naruto considered her words. Two hearts believing in the same future, huh? I like that. A comfortable silence fell between them, broken only by the distant sounds of the village and the gentle rustling of leaves in the afternoon breeze. Over the past weeks, they'd developed an easy companionship born of shared experiences and complementary abilities. Naruto's boundless energy and optimism balanced Wendy's more thoughtful, cautious nature. "I've been meaning to ask," Naruto said eventually, "what's it like in your guild?" "Fairy tale, right, you mention it sometimes, but I'm curious about the details." Wendy's face brightened at the question. "Fairy tale is," she searched for the right words, "chaotic and wonderful. Imagine a building always filled with people who are family in every way except blood. There's constant fighting, friendly fights, usually, and drinking, and laughter." As she described the rowdy guild hall, the mismatched wizards with their unique magics, and the bonds that transcended mere friendship, Naruto listened with rapt attention. He could hear the love in her voice, see the way her eyes lit up speaking about her nakama. "Gray and Natsu sound like me and Sasuke," he observed with a laugh when she described the ice and fire wizards' constant bickering. "From what you've told me about Sasuke, that's a perfect comparison," Wendy agreed, smiling. "And Lucy reminds me a bit of Sakura, smart and stronger than she sometimes gets credit for. And this Carla, your Exceed partner, she's basically a talking cat with wings who bosses you around." Wendy giggled. "That's a simplified version, but yes, she's been with me since I was very young, always protecting me, even when I didn't need protection." Her expression sobered slightly. "She must be so worried." Naruto reached out impulsively, placing his hand over hers. "We'll find a way to get you back to them. I promise. And I never go back on my word." The sincerity in his blue eyes made something flutter in Wendy's chest. Before she could respond, a familiar voice called out from the edge of the training ground. "There you are." Sakura approached, her expression urgent. "Kakashi-sensei sent me to find you both. There's been another rift detected, a small one, but it's stable." And something came through. Naruto and Wendy exchanged glances before quickly rising to their feet. "Where?" Wendy asked, hope surging through her. "The northeastern forest boundary. Anbu have secured the area, but..." Sakura hesitated. "They're saying it's a person this time. Someone asking for you by name, Wendy." The Anbu perimeter around the small clearing was nearly invisible to untrained eyes, but Naruto sensed the elite shinobi watching from concealed positions as they approached. At the center of the clearing stood a small white tent, hastily erected to shield whatever, or whoever, had emerged from the tiny rift that still shimmered above it. Kakashi and Shikamaru waited outside the tent, in conversation that ceased as the trio arrived. Naruto, Wendy, Kakashi greeted them with characteristic calm that nonetheless couldn't entirely mask his concern. "Thank you for coming quickly." Quote, "Sakura said someone came through asking for me," Wendy said, unable to keep the hopeful tremor from her voice. "Is it someone from Fairy Tail?" Before Kakashi could answer, the tent flap opened, and a blonde woman stepped out. Her brown eyes widened at the sight of Wendy, relief washing over her features. "Wendy, thank goodness you're alive, Lucy," Wendy cried, running forward and throwing her arms around the celestial spirit mage in a fierce hug. "You're here. You're really here." Lucy Hartfilia returned the embrace just as tightly, tears glistening in her eyes. "We've been searching for you for weeks. The entire guild has been working non-stop to find a way to reach you after you disappeared." The reunion brought a smile to Naruto's face as he watched the two guildmates reconnect. Even Kakashi's posture relaxed slightly, though his vigilance never truly wavered. "How did you get here?" Wendy asked as they finally separated. Lucy gestured to the small rift floating above the tent. "After you vanished, Master Makarov contacted the Magic Council. They brought in specialists who detected traces of spatial magic at the spot where you disappeared. We've been working with a mage Nam, Ed Dorenbold, who specializes in teleportation magic, to try to follow the trail." She glanced around at the shinobi, clearly still wary despite her joy at finding Wendy. "I volunteered to be the first. Through when we finally stabilized a small connection. The others are maintaining the portal from our side, but they can only keep it open for about 24 hours. Kakashi stepped forward, introducing himself with a diplomatic bow. "Kakashi Hatake, 6th Hokage of Konohagakure. On behalf of the Hidden Leaf Village, I welcome you, though I wish it were under less complicated circumstances. Lucy returned the bow somewhat awkwardly. Lucy Heartfilia of Fairy Tale. Thank you for taking care of Wendy. Lucy is a celestial spirit mage, Wendy explained to the others. She can summon spirits from another realm to help her. Another realm. Shikamaru's interest was immediately piqued. So dimensional travel is common in your world? Not exactly, Lucy clarified. The celestial spirit real M is connected to Earthland through specific gates that have existed for centuries. This kind of direct world-to-world portal is unprecedented. As they spoke, Naruto noticed Lucy discreetly assessing him and the other shinobi. Her hand never straying far from the key ring at her hip, a fighter's caution he recognized and respected. Perhaps we should continue this discussion at the Hokage Tower, Kakashi suggested. Ms. Heartfilia, I'm sure you have many questions, as do we. Lucy nodded, falling into step beside Wendy as they began walking back toward the village. I have a message for you from Master Makarov, she said quietly to the younger dragon slayer. He wanted you to know that Fairy Tale hasn't given up on bringing you home, not for a single moment. Wendy's eyes welled with tears. I never doubted it. How's Carla? Worried sick but channeling it into action. She's been working with Levi day and night researching dimensional magic. Lucy's expression grew more serious. Wendy, what happened? How did you end up here? As they walked, Wendy recounted her experience with the first portal, the Void Hunter, and meeting Naruto and the others. Lucy listened intently, her expression growing increasingly troubled as Wendy described Kato Void and his apparent plans for both worlds. A rogue dragon slayer manipulating dimensional boundaries. Lucy murmured, that's extremely concerning. I need to get this information back to the guild as soon as possible. Has anything strange been happening in Fiori? Naruto asked, joining their conversation. Weather disturbances, unusual magical phenomena. Lucy glanced at him with newfound interest. You must be Naruto. Wendy mentioned you in her explanation. She nodded grimly. And yes, there have been reports across Fiori of magical anomalies, spells behaving unpredictably, lacrima malfunctioning, even the occasional spontaneous magic circle appearing in midair. Just like the chakra fluctuations we've been detecting, Shikamaru noted. Both worlds are experiencing similar symptoms. By the time they reached the Hokage Tower, word of Lucy's arrival had spread, drawing curious stares from villagers and shinobi alike. Naruto noticed the Anbu shadows following them had doubled in number, standard protocol for potential security concerns, but also a sign of how seriously Konoha was taking these dimensional incursions. In Kakashi's office, they found Tsunade and, to Naruto's irritation, Danzo already waiting. The bandaged elder's presence immediately cast a pall over what should have been a positive development. So another visitor from this, Earthland. Danzo observed coldly. How convenient that she appears just as we're discussing increased security measures. Lucy bristled visibly at his tone, but Wendy placed a calming hand on her arm. Lord Danzo is one of Konoha's elders, she explained quietly. He's concerned about the village's safety. A legitimate concern, Lucy replied, addressing Danzo directly. Fairy Tale shares your desire to understand and neutralize this threat. That's why I'm here, to exchange information and hopefully find a way to return Wendy home safely. A cooperative approach benefits both our worlds. Tsunade interjected smoothly. Ms. Heartfilia, what can you tell us about the current situation in Earthland regarding these dimensional disturbances? For the next hour, Sai shared everything Fairy Tale and the Magic Council had learned about the rifts appearing throughout Fiori. In turn, Kakashi provided details about similar phenomena in the shinobi nations, careful. Why omitting sensitive intelligence while emphasizing their mutual predicament? Based on what you've told us about this Kato Void, Lucy said, the Magic Council's theory makes sense. They believe Psalm E1 is deliberately weakening the barriers between dimensions, creating these unstable connections. But to what end? Shikamaru wondered aloud. Kato mentioned merging the worlds, but that's theoretically impossible without catastrophic consequences for both. Unless that's exactly what he wants, Tsunade suggested grimly. Catastrophe. Danzo, who had remained silent during most of the exchange, finally spoke. The appearance of these rifts presents a strategic opportunity we cannot ignore. If they can be controlled, the military applications would be significant. Military applications? Lucy echoed incredulously. These portals are highly unstable. They're letting through interdimensional predators and distorting the natural laws of both our worlds. They're not weapons to be harnessed. With respect, Ms. Heartfilia, you are a guest here, Danzo replied coldly. How Konoha chooses to respond to this situation is not your concern. It absolutely is her concern, Naruto countered. Unable to contain himself any longer. Lucis' world is being affected just like ours. We should be working together, not looking for ways to exploit this disaster. Kakashi raised a hand, forestalling further argument. This debate can wait. Our immediate priority is gathering intelligence and containing the current rifts. He turned to Lucy. The portal that brought you here, you mentioned T will remain stable for approximately 24 hours. Lucy nodded. That's what our mages calculated. After that, the connection will collapse. Then we should use this opportunity wisely, Kakashi decided. Wendy, I know you must have much to discuss with your guild mate. Take the remainder of the day to exchange information. Naruto, please ensure our guests have everything they need. He looked at Lucy. Tomorrow, I suggest we conduct a joint examination of the portal. Perhaps studying a stable rift will provide insights we've missed with the unstable ones. As the meeting concluded, Danzo departed without further comment, though his dissatisfaction hung in the air like a storm cloud. Once he was gone, the atmosphere lightened considerably. I apologize for the tension, Tsunade said to Lucy. These events have everyone on edge. Lucy waved away the concern. Trust me, I understand. You should see Fairy Tail when we're facing a crisis. At least no one here has started throwing furniture yet. Her joke brought much-needed smiles to tired faces. As they prepared to leave, Kakashi pulled Naruto aside briefly. Keep your guard up, he murmured. Danzo's interest in these portals concerns me. He may take independent action. Naruto nodded, understanding the unspoken instruction to watch for route operatives. I won't let him interfere with getting Wendy home. I know, Kakashi replied with a hint of his old warmth. Just be careful, and Naruto, he hesitated, don't forget that home for Wendy means leaving here permanently. The comment caught Naruto off guard, striking a chord he hadn't realized was there. He glanced across the room where Wendy and Lucy were deep in animated conversation, the younger girl's face alight with happiness at reuniting with her friend. Yeah, he said quietly. I know. Evening found them at Ichiraku Ramen, fulfilling Naruto's promise to introduce Wendy to the best food in Konoha before she returned home. Lucy, despite her initial skepticism about ramen being worthy of such high praise, found herself won over by the delicious broth and Chuki's warm hospitality. This is amazing, she admitted after her first taste. Different from the food in Magnolia. But in a good way. Told you, Naruto declared triumphantly. Ichiraku Ramen is the food of the gods. Wendy giggled at his enthusiasm, her spirits higher than they'd been since arriving in the ninja world. Having Lucy here made everything feel more manageable, a tangible connection to home that renewed her hope of returning. So let me get this straight, Lucy said, turning to Naruto. You've somehow developed Sky Dragon Slayer magic just from being near the portal when Wendy came through. Naruto nodded, slurping down noodles before answering. It was weird, at first. Like the wind was talking to me. Then during the fight with that Void Hunter, I just knew what to do. Wendy's been teaching me how to control it properly. He's a natural, Wendy added with unmistakable pride. His wind nature chakra gives him an affinity for sky magic that rivals mine, even though I've been practicing for years. Lucy studied Naruto thoughtfully. That's unprecedented. Dragon Slayer magic isn't something you can just pick up. It requires either being taught by an actual dragon or having a Dragon Slayer lacrima implanted in your body. Maybe the rules are different between worlds, Naruto suggested with a shrug. Or maybe it has something to do with Kurama. Kurama, the nine-tailed fox sealed inside me, Naruto explained casually, as if discussing the weather. He's a tailed beast, basically a massive living chakra construct with a nasty attitude but a good heart deep down. Lucy's chopsticks paused halfway to her mouth. You have a fox sealed inside you. It's a long story. Naruto laughed at her expression. But yeah, I've been Kurama's Jinchuriki since the day I was born. We used to hate each other, but now we're partners. From within Naruto's mindscape, Kurama snorted. Partners, he says, while shoveling ramen into his face and making me watch. Naruto ignored the fox's commentary, already used to his grumbling. That's, wow. Lucy set down her chopsticks. Processing this information. Our worlds really are different. Though I suppose it's not entirely unlike celestial spirit magic, forming contracts with powerful beings. Except I doubt your spirits are constantly criticizing your food choices, Naruto muttered. You'd be surprised, Lucy laughed. Aquarius has plenty to say about everything I do. As they continued their meal, the conversation flowed easily between ninja techniques and wizard magic, guild missions and shinobi assignments. For a few hours, the looming threat of Kato Void and destabilizing dimensions receded, allowing them to simply enjoy each other's company. When they eventually stepped out into the cool evening air, stars twinkling overhead in a familiar pattern despite being in a different world. Lucy pulled Wendy aside for a moment of private conversation. You seem different, she observed quietly, studying her younger guild mate. More confident. Wendy looked surprised. Do I? Lucy nodded. It's subtle, but definitely there. This place, these people, they've been good for you. Wendy's gaze drifted to where Naruto stood a short distance away, pointing out Konoha landmarks to distract himself from their private conversation. They've been kind, especially Naruto. He's been training with me every day, helping me adapt to this world while we search for a way home. Something in her voice made Lucy look closer, her perceptive nature catching the faint blush on Wendy's cheeks. Wendy Marvell, she whispered teasingly, do you have feelings for him? What? No, I mean, Wendy's flustered denial only confirmed Lucy's suspicion. It's not like that, he's just different from anyone I've met before. He understands what it's like to have this power, to feel connected to the sky itself. Lucy's expression softened. It's okay, you know, to care about someone here. It doesn't make you disloyal to Fairy Tail. It doesn't matter anyway, Wendy replied, her voice dropping further. In less than a day, we'll use the stable portal to go home, and that will be the end of it. The melancholy in her tone didn't escape Lucy's notice, but before she could respond, a commotion from the main street drew their attention. People were pointing skyward, expressions of alarm clear even in the dim evening light. Naruto was beside them instantly. Something's wrong. They hurried toward the disturbance, emerging onto the main thoroughfare to find villagers staring up at a bizarre spectacle. The night sky above Konoha had developed a strange distortion, like ripples in a pond but spanning the entire visible firmament. Stars seemed to shift and blur, their light bending unnaturally. That's not good, Lucy murmured, instinctively reaching for her keys. It's like the rifts, but Wendy trailed off, her dragon slayer senses picking up something else. The air pressure is changing drastically. Even as she spoke, a powerful wind began to build, swirling through the streets with increasing force. Loose objects, papers, small plants, debris, lifted into the air, caught in the unnatural current. Everyone inside, Naruto shouted to the gathering crowd. Take shelter. Most villagers heeded the warning, scrambling for doorways and sturdy buildings. Ninja appeared on rooftops, coordinating evacuation efforts with practiced efficiency. The distortion in the sky expanded, the ripples intensifying until a massive tear appeared directly above the village center. Unlike the previous rifts, which had been localized phenomena, this one spanned hundreds of feet across, visible to everyone in Konoha. Through it, they could see another sky, daytime instead of night, with a different constellation of clouds. The juxtaposition of day and night skies meeting in a ragged tear was profoundly disorienting. That's Magnolia's sky, Lucy realized with horror. I recognize those mountains in the distance. The wind increased to gale force, now circling the village in a massive vortex that centered on the rift above. Kakashi appeared beside them in a swirl of leaves, his Hokage robes whipping violently in the wind. The barrier team reports multiple rifts forming throughout the village. He shouted over the howling air. This is different from the previous incursions, more coordinated, more powerful. It's Kato, Naruto growled, his eyes flashing briefly red as Kurama's chakra responded to his anger. He's making his move. We need to stabilize that main rift before it tears the village apart, Wendy called out, already gathering her magic. The wind patterns are becoming destructive. As if to emphasize her point, a nearby vendor's stall tore free from its moorings, wooden planks splintering as they were sucked upward toward the rift. Can you close something that large? Kakashi asked, doubt evident in his voice. Not close it, Lucy answered, an idea forming. But maybe redirect it. In Edalus, we used anima convergence to channel dimensional portals away from populated areas. Worth a shot, Naruto agreed. But we need height. We need to get closer to the rift itself. Kakashi nodded. The Hokage Monument. It's the highest point in the village and directly in line with the center of the distortion. As they raced toward the monument, more ninja joined their effort. Sakura and Sai swooped down on one of the Artist's Ink birds, while Shikamaru coordinated defense teams from the ground, using his shadow techniques to secure flying debris before it could injure civilians. The climb up the monument's steep face would have been challenging under normal circumstances. With hurricane-force winds tearing at them and the occasional object, from roof tiles to entire market stalls, flying past, it became a harrowing test of skill and determination. When they finally reached the top, standing atop the stone visage of Tsunade, the full scale of the disaster became apparent. The rift had continued to expand, now revealing not just Magnolia's sky but glimpses of the city itself. Inverted above them like a reflection in water. The wind vortex had strengthened further, creating a massive funnel cloud that connected the two worlds at their center. It's drawing the worlds together, Lucy shouted, her blonde hair whipping wildly around her face. If they collide in this state, both could shatter. Naruto and Wendy moved to the edge of the monument, their Sky Dragon Slayer senses analyzing the complex air currents. Without discussing it, they fell into the synchronized breathing pattern they'd practiced during training, their magics harmonizing instinctively. We need to redirect the vortex, Wendy called to the others. Create a spiral that disperses the energy instead of concentrating it. I'll help stabilize the outer edges, Lucy offered, pulling out two golden keys. Open. Gate of the Twins. Gemini. In a flash of golden light, two small blue creatures appeared, floating beside Lucy despite the powerful winds. Gemini, I need you to transform into me and help amplify my magic. The spirits complied instantly, shifting into a perfect copy of Lucy. Together, they began casting Uranometria, one of Lucy's most powerful spells, directing its celestial energy to form a containing ring around the edge of the rift. Kakashi, recognizing the need for additional support, made rapid hand signs. Water style. Water dragon jutsu. The massive water construct rose from moisture pulled from the very air, circling the perimeter of the vortex opposite Lucy's spell, creating a counterbalance. At the center of this coordinated effort, Naruto and Wendy gathered their Sky Dragon magic, power building around them invisible spirals of light and wind. Ready? Naruto asked, his eyes meeting Wendy's. She nodded, a determined smile forming despite the chaos surrounding them. Together, Sky Dragon's secret art, they called in unison. Celestial Dome. Harmonic redirection. The combined technique shot upward, a brilliant column of rallying wind that struck the center of the rift and began to spread outward, altering the destructive vortex into a more stable circular pattern. For a moment, it seemed to be working. The violent winds began to calm, the funnel cloud transforming into a wide, flat disk that separated the two visible worlds instead of drawing them together. Then, without warning, a dark pulse of energy shot through the rift from the Magnolia side. The stabilizing pattern shattered, and a figure dropped through the tear in reality, landing with graceful precision on the monument opposite them. Impressive improvisation, Kato Void commented, his multicolored eyes taking in the scene with cold amusement. But ultimately futile, he looked different from their first encounter, more substantial somehow, as if he'd become more fully anchored in their dimension. The swirling patterns on his skin pulsed with power, and a dark aura surrounded him that made the air itself seem to recoil. You, Naruto snarled, instinctively moving in front of Wendy. What are you doing to our worlds? Correcting a cosmic mistake, Kato replied calmly, raising his hands toward the rift above. The separation of magic and chakra was never meant to be permanent. I am simply accelerating the inevitable reunion. With a gesture, he sent another pulse of energy into the rift, causing it to fluctuate violently. The partial view of Magnolia blurred and shifted, showing glimpses of other locations, a guild hall that must be fairy tale, streets filled with panicked people, wizards attempting to counter the phenomenon from their side. "Stop this," Lucy demanded, her copy of Gemini still beside her. "You're going to destroy both worlds." "Destruction precedes creation," Kato intoned, his voice taking on an echoing quality. "But enough dialogue. I didn't come alone." He snapped his fingers, and a new rift opened beside him, smaller, more controlled. Through it stepped a massive figure with wild green hair and a musku build that dwarfed even Naruto's adult form. Lightning crackled constantly around the newcomer, his eyes glowing with unnatural power. "May I present Orga," Kato introduced with mocking formality. Once the lightning god slayer of Sabertooth Guild. Now, evolved to serve a higher purpose. Wendy gasped in recognition. "Orga, but how did he corrupt a god slayer?" Kato finished for her, quite easily, when one knows the proper techniques. "Just as the dragon slayers were created to hunt dragons, I have repurposed Orga to hunt dragon slayers." The green-haired man said nothing, his expression vacant despite the immense power rolling off him in waves. Around his neck hung a strange amulet that pulsed with the same multicolored energy that marked Kato's skin. "While I continue my work," Kato continued, "Orga will demonstrate why resistance is pointless. Oh, and Lucy Heartfilia, your guild is experiencing similar difficulties at this moment. Several of your friends at MPTED to follow you through the original portal, a development I've been anticipating." Lucy's face paled. "What have you done to them?" Kato's smile was devoid of warmth. "Nothing, yet. They're simply redirected, scattered across this world, lost and alone. Consider it motivation for our Sky Dragon Slayers to cooperate when the time comes." Before anyone could respond, Kato vanished in a swirl of dimensional energy, leaving Orga behind. The moment Kato disappeared, the massive rift above began to stabilize on its own, the violent wind subsiding to a steady breeze, still connecting the worlds, but no longer threatening to tear Konoha apart. "He's controlling it," Kakashi realized. The entire event was orchestrated. Orga, finally breaking his silence, fixed his gaze on Naruto and Wendy. "Sky Dragon Slayers," he intoned, his voice unnaturally deep and resonant. "Lord Void requires your essence. Surrender or be taken by force." "Not happening," Naruto replied, dropping into a fighting stance. "Lucy, Kakashi-sensei, can you handle the rift? Make sure it doesn't start destabilizing again." Kakashi nodded, understanding Naruto's strategy. "We'll maintain the containment. You two deal with Orga. Be careful," Lucy warned. Orga was one of Sabertooth's strongest mages even before whatever Kato did to him. The corrupted god slayer didn't wait for further discussion. With frightening speed for someone his size, he launched forward, fists wrapped in black lightning. Lightning gods charged particle cannon. A massive beam of black electricity shot toward them, forcing Yuto and Wendy to dive in opposite directions. The attack struck the monument where they'd been standing, leaving a smoking crater in the stone. "He's faster than he looks," Naruto called to Wendy as they regrouped. "And that lightning isn't normal. God Slayer magic is similar to Dragon Slayer magic but more potent in some ways," Wendy explained quickly as they dodged another barrage. "And he's using some kind of corrupted version now." Naruto created a dozen shadow clones that rushed Orga from multiple angles. The God Slayer dispatched them with contemptuous ease, black lightning reducing each clone to smoke with a single touch. Physical attacks won't work, Naruto realized. "We need to counter with our own Dragon Slayer techniques." Wendy nodded, gathering her magic. Sky Dragon's roar. The tornado-like blast struck Orga directly, pushing him back several feet but doing minimal damage. He responded with his own roar, a deafening thunderclap that sent black lightning arcing in all directions. Lightning God's Heavenward Halberd. A massive spear of black lightning formed in Orga's hand before launching toward Wendy. Naruto moved without thinking, his Sky Dragon magic surging as he intercepted the attack. Sky Dragon's wing shield. A dome of swirling wind formed around them both, partially deflecting the halberd. The lightning still penetrated enough to send painful shocks through Naruto's body. But he remained standing, his determination unshaken. "Are you okay?" Wendy asked, immediately casting healing magic over his injuries. "I'm fine," Naruto assured her, though his muscles still twitched from the electrical assault. But we need a new strategy. His lightning cuts right through our wind techniques. As Orga prepared another attack, Naruto felt Kurama's chakra stirring within him. Kid, let me help. This opponent isn't something you can handle with just these new wind powers. Naruto hesitated only briefly before acknowledging the fox's wisdom. Kurama's right. Time to change tactics. Golden chakra flared around him as he accessed Nine-Tails mode, his appearance transforming with the familiar patterns of light. Wendy stared in amazement at the transforma. Tian. She'd heard about it from Naruto but hadn't witnessed it until now. What is this power? She whispered, sensing the ancient energy flowing through him. This is Kurama's chakra, Naruto explained, feeling the familiar surge of strength and speed. And now, let's see what happens when we combine it with Sky Dragon magic. He closed his eyes briefly, focusing on merging the two distinct energy sources within him. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sudden rush like a dam breaking, the energies flowed together. The golden chakra cloak surrounding him took on a blue-tinged hue, and spirals of wind began circling his body alongside the flames of Kurama's power. Orga paused, something like confusion flickering across his otherwise expressionless face. Unknown energy signature detected. Adjusting parameters. The amulet around his neck pulsed brighter, and the black lightning surrounding him intensified. Lightning God's celestial destruction. The attack that followed dwarfed his previous efforts, a massive sphere of crackling black energy that expanded outward with devastating force. Kakashi and Lucy, still working to stabilize the rift, were forced to abandon their positions temporarily to avoid being caught in the blast radius. Naruto stood his ground, the combined power of Kurama and Sky Dragon magic swirling around him. Wendy, I need your support. Understanding instantly, Wendy cast her enhancement spells. Arms, armor, vernier. The support magic melded seamlessly with Naruto's dual energy cloak, creating a harmonized field that extended to include Wendy as well. Within this shared space, their powers resonated at matching frequencies, amplifying each other. Now, Naruto called, extending his hand as a Rasengan began to form, but unlike any he'd created before. This one contained swirling layers of both chakra and Sky Dragon magic, creating a sphere that resembled a miniature storm system. Sky Dragon God's Tempest Rasengan, he declared, the name coming to him instinctively. Simultaneously, Wendy gathered her most powerful attack. Dragon Slayer's secret art. Shattering light. Sky Drill. Their combined assault struck Orga's expanding sphere of black lightning. For a heartbeat, the attacks seemed evenly matched, energy crackling at the point of impact. Then, gradually, the harmonized sky magic began to penetrate the God Slayer's technique, Spi, rallying through the black lightning and dispersing its cohesion. With a sound like thunder breaking directly overhead, Orga's attack collapsed. The backlash sent him skidding backward across the monument, the amulet at his throat flaring erratically. Impossible, he growled, the first sign of emotion he'd shown. Lord Void's enhancement cannot fail. Your Lord Void doesn't understand the power of working together, Naruto replied, maintaining the dual energy cloak as he and Wendy advanced side by side. Dragon Slayer magic isn't just about technique, it's about heart. Something flickered in Orga's eyes, a momentary clarity quickly subsumed by the amulet's pulsing control. Heart is irrelevant, power is absolute. He gathered his energy for another attack, lightning now crawling across his skin in painful-looking arcs. Lightning God's supreme overload. Electricity exploded outward in all directions, no longer controlled or directed but simply unleashed in raw, destructive power. The stone beneath their feet cracked, and the air itself seemed to burn with static discharge. Naruto reacted instinctively, pulling Wendy close as he expanded the harmonized energy field around them both. The lightning struck their shield repeatedly, each impact sending vibrations through their combined defense. I can't hold this forever, Naruto warned, feeling the strain of maintaining the complex energy pattern. Wendy studied Orga through the flickering barrier, her healer's instincts noticing something crucial. The amulet. It's hurting him. Look at how the lightning is starting to turn inward. She was right. The black electricity had begun to crawl back toward Orga himself, concentrating around the amulet at his throat. His expression had shifted from blank to pained, though he continued his assault with mechanical persistence. If we can destroy that amulet, Wendy reasoned, we might free him from Kato's control. Naruto nodded, an idea forming. I need to get close enough to hit it directly. Can you create an opening? Leave it to me. Wendy's expression set with determination as she gathered her magic once more. Sky Dragon's secret art. Milky Way. This technique, normal, why used to contact the souls of dead dragons, created a swirling vortex of pure air magic that temporarily thinned the barrier between physical and spiritual realms. When directed at Orga, it created a momentary disruption in his lightning field, causing the electricity to flicker and dim. Now, Wendy cried. Naruto shot forward, the combined chakra magic cloak streamlining around him for maximum speed. He formed another Rasengan, this one smaller but more concentrated, aimed specifically at the pulsing amulet. Sky Dragon's piercing wind Rasengan. The focused attack struck the amulet dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then hairline cracks appeared across its surface, spreading rapidly as the conflicting energies destabilized its structure. Orga roared in pain and fury, grabbing Naruto's arm before he could retreat. Lord Void sees all. He knows your weakness. Black lightning surged directly into Naruto, bypassing his protective cloak through the point of physical contact. Pain exploded through his nervous system, momentarily overloading even Kurama's healing abilities. Despite the agony, Naruto maintained his focus on the cracking amulet. Wendy, finish it. She was already moving, her small form darting forward with speed enhanced by her own magic. Sky Dragon's crushing fang. Her wind-wrapped hand struck the amulet from the opposite side, applying the final pressure needed. With a sound like breaking glass amplified 100-fold, the artifact shattered. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Black lightning exploded outward one final time before dissipating entirely. Orga's massive form crumpled to his knees, his eyes clearing as the unnatural glow faded. Naruto staggered backward, his dual energy cloak flickering but holding. What? Where? Orga looked around in confusion. One hand going to his throat where the amulet had been. Sabretooth. My guild, what happened to me? Wendy approached cautiously, her healing magic already gathering around her hands. You were being controlled by Kato Void. Do you remember anything? Recognition flickered in Orga's eyes at the name. Kato. He came to our guild hall. Said he was researching ancient Slayer magic. We thought he was just a scholar, but then. His expression darkened. He did something to me. Some kind of ritual with that amulet. Everything after that is, fragments. As Wendy begged, and healing the damage the corrupted magic had done to Orga's body, Kakashi and Lucy rejoined them, having maintained the rift's stability during the battle. The main distortion is holding steady, Kakashi reported. It's no longer growing or causing destructive weather patterns, but it's not closing either. Lucy knelt beside Orga, concern evident in her expression. Orga, did Kato say anything about his plans? About why he's connecting our worlds? The God Slayer closed his eyes, struggling to piece together memories through the haze of control. Something about convergence. The Dragon King festival reborn across dimensions. He kept talking about gathering Slayer essence from both worlds. Dragon King Festival, Wendy repeated, her hands pausing in their healing work. But that was an ancient war between dragons. It has nothing to do with dimensional magic. He believes it does, Orga insisted, his voice stronger as Wendy's magic repaired the damage to his system. He said the original separation of worlds happened during the festival. That dragons and tailed beasts share a common ancestor. Naruto exchanged a surprised look with Kakashi. Tailed beasts and dragons, related. It sounds absurd, Kakashi admitted. But given everything we've witnessed, it would explain why Dragon Slayer magic resonated with you, Lucy suggested to Naruto. If there's some fundamental connection between the energy systems of our worlds. As they pondered this revelation, a small group of ninja appeared, led by Shikamaru and Sakura. They brought news from the village below. The rift has stabilized throughout Konoha, Shikamaru reported. But we're getting reports of similar phenomena appearing in other nations. The land of lightning, the land of water, all experiencing the same type of distortion. And that's not all, Sakura added grimly. We've confirmed multiple smaller rifts have opened across the shinobi countries. And according to witnesses, people have emerged from at least 3 of them. Lucy's head snapped up. People. From Earthland. Sakura nodded. The descriptions match what Wendy told us about her guild mates. A man with no shirt and dark hair who creates ice. A woman with red hair who can change her armor instantly. And a man with pink hair who breathes fire. Gray, Urza, and Natsu, Lucy identified immediately, relief and concern warring in her expression. They're here, but scattered across your world. Just as Kato said, Wendy realized. He deliberately separated them. Naruto, who had been silent as he processed everything, finally spoke. He's isolating powerful wizards in unfamiliar territory, probably hoping they'll be captured or killed before we can find them. Or he's creating chaos to distract us from his real objective, Kakashi suggested. The timing of this attack, coming right after Lucy arrived through a stable portal, feels deliberate. Orga struggled to his feet, his massive frame still unsteady but his determination clear. Whatever he's planning, I want to help stop him. He used me as a weapon against my fellow wizards. That's not something I can forgive. The group made their way down from the monument, Ritu, RNING, to a village that had weathered the supernatural storm remarkably well, thanks to quick action from the ninja forces. Above them, the rift remained, a constant reminder of the merged skies and the threats that came with them. In the Hokage's office, emergency response teams reported in continuously as Kakashi coordinated Konoha's reaction to the crisis. Messages were dispatched to the other hidden villages, warning of possible incursions and requesting information about any wizard sightings. Our priority must be locating the scattered fairy tale wizards, Kakashi decided after reviewing the reports. Not only for their safety but because their knowledge and abilities may be crucial in understanding Kato's endgame. I should go find them, Lucy insisted. They'll trust me immediately, whereas they might be suspicious of ninja they encounter. Agreed, but not alone, Kakashi replied. We'll form search teams, mixed groups of shinobi and wizards. He looked at Orga. Are you fit for travel? The God Slayer nodded. My strength is returning. I owe a debt here, both to you for freeing me and to my fellow wizards for what I was forced to do. Then we'll pair you with a tracking team heading toward the land of water, where we believe the ice wizard emerged. Kakashi turned to Lucy. You'll join Team Kurenai searching for the fire breather in the land of fire's eastern regions. What about Urza? Wendy asked, worried for the formidable but potentially out-of-place Requip mage. Reports place her in the land of lightning, Shikamaru noted, studying a map where the sightings had been marked. That's problematic. Our relations with Cloud Village are still tense after the war. I'll go, Naruto volunteered immediately. The Raikage respects me after everything that happened with Madara. If anyone can negotiate Urza's release if she's been detained, it's me. Kakashi considered this, then nodded. Take Wendy with you. Her knowledge of Urza and Fairy Tail will be essential, and your combined Sky Dragon abilities have proven effective against Kato's forces. The assignments continued, teams forming and dispersing as the village mobilized to address the multifaceted crisis. Through it all, the rift above Konoha remained a constant reminder of the stakes. Two worlds partially merged, their boundaries blurring in ways that threatened the fabric of both realities. Dawn found Naruto and Wendy traveling at speed through the forests of the Land of Fire, heading northeast toward the Land of Lightning. Despite the urgency of their mission, both felt a certain exhilaration in testing their combined abilities outside the confines of the training ground. How far to the border? Wendy asked as they paused briefly on a high branch, surveying the terrain ahead. About half a day at this pace. Naruto replied. Once we cross into Lightning Country, we'll need to be more cautious. The Raikage might be an ally now, but their border patrols are still serious business. Wendy nodded, adjusting the small pack she carried. She wore a modified version of standard Konoha ninja attire that Sakura had helped her select, practical for travel but with her guild mark still proudly visible on her shoulder. The past 3 weeks had changed her in subtle ways, building confidence that showed in her posture and movements. I'm worried about Urza, she admitted as they resumed their journey. She's strong, probably the strongest female wizard in Fairy Tail, but she's also direct in ways that might not work well with suspicious ninja. Naruto grinned, easily keeping pace beside her. So she's like Sakura but with more weapons. Hundreds more weapons, Wendy confirmed with a small smile. And armor sets for every occasion. Her Requip magic lets her change equipment instantly during battle. Sounds like we'd better find her before she decides the Cloud Village needs reorganizing, Naruto joked, though there was genuine concern beneath his light tone. They traveled in comfortable silence for a while, the rhythm of their movement requiring no discussion. 3 weeks of training together had created an easy synchronicity between them, each anticipating the other's movements, adjusting pace without verbal communication. Around midday, they paused at a small stream to rest and refill their water containers. As Wendy knelt by the water, Naruto noticed how the sunlight filtering through the leaves dappled her blue hair with patches of gold. The sight triggered an unexpected warmth in his chest. "What?" she asked, noticing his gaze. "Nothing," he replied quickly, looking away. "Just thinking about something Kakashi-sensei said." Wendy tilted her head curiously. "What was it?" Naruto hesitated, unsure why he'd mentioned it. "Just about how when we fix these rifts, you'll be going home. Back to Fairy Tail." "Oh." Understanding dawned in her eyes. "Yes, I suppose I will." An awkward silence fell between them, filled only by the gentle burbling of the stream. It was a reality neither had wanted to address directly, that their growing friendship had an expiration date, a point when their worlds would separate again. "I've been thinking about that," Wendy finally said, her voice soft but steady. "About going home. I miss Fairy Tail terribly. My friends, Carla, the guild hall, but, Naruto prompted when she didn't continue. She met his gaze directly. "But I'll miss this place too. The people I've met here. The things I've learned." A faint blush colored her cheeks. "I'll miss training with you." The simple admission stirred something in Naruto that he hadn't allowed himself to examine too closely. Before he could respond, however, his enhanced senses detected movement in the forest nearby, too deliberate to be wildlife. "We're not alone," he murmured, shifting imperceptibly into a more defensive position. Wendy nodded slightly, having sensed it too. Her Dragon Slayer hearing picked up the subtle sounds of someone trying very hard to move silently through the underbrush. Without warning, 3 kunai flew from the trees, aimed with deadly precision at vital points. Naruto deflected them with a kunai of his own, while Wendy ed a quick burst of sky magic to alter their trajectory. "Show yourself," Naruto called out, moving protectively closer to Wendy despite knowing she could handle herself. A figure dropped from the canopy above, a young woman with dark hair and calculating eyes, wearing the uniform of Root Anbu but without the standard mask. She was flanked by 2 more operatives who remained partially concealed in the shadows. "Uzumaki Naruto," she greeted with cold formality. "Lord Danzo sends his regards." "Funny way of showing it," Naruto replied tensely, recognizing the distinctive fighting stance of Root's elite assassins. Throwing kunai at allies isn't usually considered polite. "A test of reflexes," the woman replied without emotion. Lord Danzo was curious how the foreign magic user would respond to a threat. Her gaze shifted to Wendy. Impressive reaction time, almost ninja-like. "What do you want?" Naruto demanded, his patience wearing thin. "We're on a mission authorized by the Hokage. Lord Danzo has questions about the rifts that the Hokage seems reluctant to investigate," the woman explained. "Specifically, about the connection between Dragon Slayer magic and the Nine Tails chakra you demonstrated during your battle with the God Slayer." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "You were watching us." Root observes all potential threats to Konoha's security. She extended a hand toward Wendy. "The girl will come with us for questioning. You may continue your mission to retrieve the armor wizard." "Not happening," Naruto stated flatly, his chakra flaring visibly around him. "Wendy is under my protection by direct order of the Hokage. If Danzo has questions, he can ask them through official channels." The Root operatives tensed, hands moving to weapons. "This is not a request, Uzumaki. Lord Danzo believes the girl possesses critical information about these dimensional disturbances. Information she may be withholding." "That's ridiculous," Wendy protested, stepping forward despite Naruto's protective stance. "I've shared everything I know about the rifts and Kato Void. I want these worlds separated safely as much as anyone." "Perhaps," the woman acknowledged. "But Lord Danzo believes your Dragon Slayer magic may be the key to controlling the rifts rather than simply closing them. A strategic advantage Konoha cannot afford to ignore." Understanding dawned on Naruto. That's what this is about. Danzo wants to weaponize the portals. He shook his head in disgust. Even after seeing what they can do to our village, he's still thinking about how to use them for power. Political concerns are irrelevant to our mission, the woman replied coldly. The girl will come with us. Now, the two hidden operatives moved with sudden speed, one launching a binding jutsu while the other threw smoke bombs to obscure Naruto's vision. Standard route tactics. Separate the targets, neutralize the stronger opponent with misdirection, capture the primary objective. But they hadn't counted on facing two Sky Dragon Slayers. Sky Dragon's wave wind, Wendy called out, generating a spherical burst of air that dispersed the smoke instantly and disrupted the binding jutsu's hand signs. Simultaneously, Naruto created 3 shadow clones that engaged the hidden operatives, while he confronted the leader directly. Last chance to walk away, he warned. I don't want to hurt fellow Konoha ninja. But I will if you force my hand. The woman's expression remained impassive as she formed a complex series of hand signs. Earth style. Stone prison jutsu. The ground beneath Wendy liquefied suddenly, attempting to engulf her legs and harden into restraints. She reacted instantly, using Sky Dragon's hover to lift herself above the trap before it could solidify. Sky Dragon's claw, she countered with a sweeping kick that sent blades of wind toward the root kunoichi, deliberately calibrated to disable rather than seriously injure. The woman dodged with impressive agility but couldn't entirely avoid the attack. The wind blades sliced through her sleeve, drawing blood from a shallow cut on her arm. Surprise flickered briefly across her features. She had clearly underestimated the young Dragon Slayer's combat abilities. Meanwhile, Naruto's clones had engaged the other 2 operatives in close combat. Though skilled, the root agents found themselves outmatched by Naruto's unpredictable fighting style and the disorienting effect of battling identical opponents simultaneously. Enough, the lead operative called out, reassessing the situation with cold calculation. Stand down. We will report to Lord Danzo that direct extraction is not viable at this time. Tell Danzo something else for me, Naruto added as the root agents prepared to retreat. Tell him that if he interferes with our mission again, I'll take it as a direct attack on the Hokage's authority, and I won't be as gentle next time. The woman's eyes narrowed slightly, the only indication that the message had registered. Without another word, the 3 operatives vanished in swirls of leaves, their presence fading completely from the surrounding forest. Once certain they were truly gone, Naruto turned to Wendy. Are you okay? She nodded, though her expression remained troubled. They really believe I'm hiding something about the rifts. It's not about you, Naruto assured her, his voice gentler now. Danzo has always been paranoid about anything he can't directly control. And he's obsessed with making Konoha the dominant power, no matter the cost. He reminds me of some members of the Magic Council, Wendy observed as they gathered their belongings, ready to resume their journey. So focused on maintaining control that they missed the actual problems. They set off again, now moving with greater caution. The encounter with Root had been brief but informative, revealing Danzo's specific interest in the relationship between Dragon Slayer magic and Tailed Beast chakra, as well as his willingness to defy the Hokage's direct orders. We should tell Kakashi-sensei about this when we get back, Naruto decided as they traveled. Danzo operating independently during a crisis like this could make everything more complicated. Wendy agreed, though her thoughts had already shifted to their primary mission. I hope Erza is alright. She's strong, but even she might be overwhelmed in a completely foreign world with different rules. If she's half as tough as you've described, I'm more worried about the Cloud Ninja who might have encountered her, Naruto joked, trying to lighten the mood. His comment had the intended effect, drawing a small smile from Wendy as they continued toward the land of lightning. The sun arced overhead, beginning its westward descent as the terrain gradually changed from dense forest to the rockier landscapes that marked the approach to Lightning Country. By late afternoon, they reached the border, a natural boundary formed by a deep ravine with a swift-flowing river at its base. A single bridge spanned the gap, guarded on the far side by Cloud Ninja in their distinctive white uniforms. This is where it gets tricky, Naruto murmured as they observed the checkpoint from concealed positions. We could try to cross officially, but that means bureaucracy and delays we can't afford. Can we go around? Wendy suggested, scanning the ravine's edges. Maybe find an unguarded section. Naruto shook his head. Cloud Village has the best sensor-type ninja of any nation. They'd detect us crossing their border within minutes, and then we'd be dealing with hostility on top of everything else. He studied the checkpoint thoughtfully. No, we need to cross officially, but with some leverage to speed things along. Reaching into his pack, he withdrew a small scroll, bearing the official seal of the Hokage, a diplomatic authorization Kakashi had provided for exactly this situation. This should get us an audience with the Raikage, but first we need to convince those guards to let us pass. They approached the bridge openly, hands visible to show they weren't preparing jutsu. The Cloud guards tensed immediately, recognizing Naruto despite his lack of the orange jumpsuit he'd worn during the war. Uzumaki Naruto, the lead guard acknowledged, his tone cautious but not openly hostile. What brings Konoha's hero to the land of lightning? Official business with Raikage-sama, Naruto replied, presenting the sealed scroll, regarding the dimensional disturbances affecting both our nations. The mention of the disturbances caused a ripple of reaction among the guards. One leaned over to whisper something to the leader, who nodded grimly before addressing Naruto again. The strange weather phenomena. Yes, we've experienced them as well. His gaze shifted to Wendy. And who is your companion? Wendy Marvell. She introduced herself with a polite bow. I'm a wizard from Fairy Tail Guild in Fury. The guards exchanged confused glances. Wizard, Fury. These terms are unfamiliar. That's part of why we're here, Naruto explained. The disturbances are actually rifts between our world and hers. We believe one of her guild mates may have come through a rift in Lightning Country. The lead guard's expression shifted from confusion to sharp interest. The woman with the changing armor. She's connected to all this. Wendy stepped forward eagerly. Urza, you've seen her. Is she all right? If by all right, you mean currently detained after destroying half a training field and threatening to requip our senior Jonin into oblivion, then yes, the guard replied dryly. Raikage-sama has been questioning her personally for the past 2 days. Naruto and Wendy exchanged relieved glances. Despite the detention, Urza was clearly alive and, from the sound of it, her usual forceful self. Then our timing is perfect, Naruto declared, offering the diplomatic scroll again. We're here to explain everything and secure her release. The guard accepted the scroll this time, examining the Hokage's seal carefully before nodding. I'll send word to Kumogakure immediately. Wait here. As one of the guards departed with unprecedented speed, the others maintained their positions. Watching Naruto and Wendy with undisguised curiosity. Is it true? One of the younger guards finally asked. Are there really other worlds beyond our own? It's true, Wendy confirmed. My world is called Earthland. We have magic instead of chakra, guilds instead of hidden villages, but people aren't so different. And these rifts, are they dangerous? Naruto nodded grimly. Very. What you've seen so far is just the beginning. Someone is deliberately manipulating them, trying to merge our worlds in ways that could destroy both. Before the conversation could continue, the messenger returned, accompanied by 2 elite cloud ninja wearing the distinctive white armor of the Raikage's personal guard. Uzumaki Naruto and Wendy Marvell, one announced formally. Reika, Ge-sama has granted you immediate passage to Kumogakure. We will escort you directly to the Raikage's office. That was fast, Naruto commented as they crossed the bridge. The Raikage said, and I quote, if Naruto knows what the hell is going on with the red-haired woman who keeps demanding swords, get him here immediately before I lose my last shred of patience, the guard replied with the faintest hint of a smile. Yep, that's Urza, Wendy confirmed with a mixture of embarrassment and pride. The journey to Kumogakure took several hours, even at the rapid pace set by their cloud escorts. He village itself was a marvel of engineering, buildings constructed directly into the sides of towering mountains, connected by bridges that spanned dizzying heights. Unlike Konoha's horizontal sprawl, Cloud Village expanded vertically, its structures reaching toward the peaks that gave the Land of Lightning its name. At present, however, the impressive vista was marred by the same phenomenon they left behind in Konoha, a massive rift in the sky above the village, showing glimpses of Earthland's landscape inverted above them like a reflection in still water. It's happening here too, Wendy O.B. served quietly as they were led through the village streets. The worlds are bleeding together. The Raikage's building dominated the highest accessible peak, a fortress-like structure that projected both strength and authority. Inside, they were led directly to the top floor, bypassing the usual protocols and security checkpoints, a testament to the urgency of the situation. When the doors to the Raikage's office swung open, they were greeted by a scene that might have been comical under different circumstances. A Raikage, his muscular frame tense with barely contained frustration, stood acro. A desk from a red-haired woman in gleaming armor who appeared equally immovable in her stance. Completely unreasonable to confiscate my weapons, Urza Scarlet was saying firmly as they entered. As I have explained repeatedly, I am not a threat to your village unless you make me one. Having 200 swords appear out of thin air is inherently threatening. The Raikage countered, his deep voice echoing off the walls. No one needs that many blades unless they're planning an invasion. Urza, Wendy called out joyfully, interrupting what appeared to be an ongoing argument. The Requip mage turned, her stern expression instantly softening. Wendy, you're safe. In a few quick strides, she crossed the room and embraced the younger dragon slayer. We've been so worried about you. I see the armor wizard belongs to you. The Raikage addressed Naruto, his tone marginally less hostile. Perhaps you can explain why she and others like her are suddenly appearing throughout our nations, along with these damnable sky rifts. For the next hour, Naruto and Wendy provided a comprehensive briefing on everything that had transpired, from Wendy's initial arrival to the discovery of Kato Void's plans, the corrupted god slayer, and the deliberate scattering of fairy tale wizards across the shinobi world. Throughout the explanation, Urza listened intently, her expression growing increasingly serious. When they finished, she turned to the Raikage with new purpose. As you can see, Raikage-sama, this is not an invasion but a crisis affecting both our worlds. I apologize for any misunderstandings, but my priority has been locating my guild mates and finding a way home. The Raikage studied her with grudging respect. You should have led with that explanation instead of demanding the return of your sacred swords, and threatening my interrogation specialists. In fairness, Urza replied with dignity, your specialists began by attempting to place chakra suppression seals on me, which I found unnecessarily hostile. Naruto intervened before the argument could reignite. The important thing now is coordinating our response. Kakashi-sensei, the Hokage, is organizing search parties. For the other fairy tale wizards who came through, we need to establish a joint approach to these rifts. The Raikage considered this, his arms crossed over his massive chest. I received Kakashi's message hawk this morning with a preliminary explanation. If what you've told me about this Kato Void is accurate, we're facing a threat potentially greater than Madara or Kagaya. Potentially, yes, Wendy agreed solemnly. He's manipulating forces even my world's greatest wizards don't fully understand. After further discussion, the Raikage made his decision. The Cloud Village will coordinate with Konoha on this matter. I'll dispatch messages to the other cage immediately, proposing an emergency summit. He looked at Urza with a hint of resignation. And yes, you can have your weapons back. As they prepared to depart, having secured both Urza's release and the Raikage's cooperation, an aide burst into the office, his expression urgent. Raikage-sama, the rift above the village, it's changing. They rushed to the balcony that offered a panoramic view of Kumogakure. Above them, the dimensional tear had begun to pulse with unnatural light, its edges expanding and contracting rhythmically. It's destabilizing, Wendy realized with alarm, just like in Konoha before Kato appeared. As if summoned by her words, a figure materialized on a nearby rooftop, not Kato himself, but Orga, he god slayer they had freed from corruption in Konoha. His expression was grim as he gazed up at the fluctuating rift. Orga, Urza called out in confusion. What are you doing here? Weren't you with Sabretooth? The massive man turned toward them, recognition dawning on his face. Titania, and the Sky Maiden. He leapt across to their balcony with surprising agility for someone his size. I've been tracking the energy signature of these rifts since Konoha. This one just spiked dramatically. You're supposed to be with the search team in the Land of Water, Naruto pointed out suspiciously. I was, Orga confirmed. We found no trace of the Ice Wizard. But I sensed something else, a pattern in the rifts, energy. They're not random, they're forming a specific geometric arrangement across both worlds. He produced a rough map on which he'd marked the locations of known rifts. When connected, they formed an unmistakable pattern, a massive magic circle spanning the entirety of the elemental nations, with Konoha at its center. A summoning circle, Urza identified immediately, her extensive knowledge of magical artifacts coming to the fore. But on a scale I've never seen before. Summoning what? The Raikage demanded. Before anyone could answer, the rift above them pulsed again, more violently this time. A beam of light shot downward from its center, striking the village square below. Where it touched, reality itself seemed to waver, buildings and people alike flickering like faulty projections. "It's starting," Orga growled. The convergence Kato spoke of. Without hesitation, Naruto and Wendy exchanged a glance of perfect understanding. Together, they leapt from the balcony, their Sky Dragon Slayer magic automatically harmonizing as they descended toward the affected area. Sky Dragons hover, they called in unison, the spell multiplying in power when cast together, slowing their fall and allowing them to land gracefully in the village square. The beam of light had created a smaller rift at ground level, a perfect circle of shimmering energy through which they could see what appeared to be a guild hall, though not fairy tales. People on the other side moved about their business, apparently unaware of the window opening into their world. "That's Blue Pegasus Guild," Wendy identified. "It's nowhere near Magnolia. The rifts aren't just connecting random points anymore. They're specifically targeting places of magical significance." Urza and Orga joined them moments later, followed by the Raikage and several elite cloud ninja. Villagers had begun to gather at a safe distance, staring in wonder and fear at the phenomenon in their midst. "We need to close it before anything comes through," Naruto decided, already gathering his dual chakra magic energy. "Wait," Orga interrupted, studying the rift intently. "This one's different. It's stable, perfectly formed. Kato wouldn't create something this controlled unless it's a trap," Urza finished grimly, her hand moving to the sword at her hip. As if confirming their suspicion, the image of Blue Pegasus rippled and vanished, replaced by a stark, barren landscape unlike anything in either world, a realm of floating islands and twisted geography where the laws of physics seemed optional at best. And standing in the center of this alien vista, clearly visible through the rift, was Kato Void. Right on schedule, his voice carried through the dimensional window with perfect clarity. "My Sky Dragon Slayers and their powerful friends, all gathered to witness the next phase." "What do you want, Kato?" Naruto demanded, moving protectively in front of the gathering crowd. "Want? I've told you already, the restoration of proper cosmic order." Kato's multicolored eyes surveyed them with cold amusement. "But perhaps you need a more concrete demonstration of why resistance is futile." He raised his hands, and the rift expanded slightly, now large enough for a person to step through. "I invite you to join me. Not in your world or in Earthland, but in the space between, the void that exists where dimensions meet." "It's obviously a trap," the Raikage stated flatly. "Of course it is," Kato agreed with disturbing candor. "But it's also the only way you'll learn the truth about the Dragon King Festival, the origin of the tailed beasts, and why Sky Dragon Slayers are the key to everything." He directed his gaze specifically at Naruto and Wendy. "I could force this convergence without your cooperation, but the process would destroy both worlds entirely. With your help, at least some might survive the rebirth. Why should we believe anything you say?" Urza challenged. Kato smiled, a cold, empty expression. "Because I'm about to show you something neither world has seen in over 1,000 years." He gestured to something behind him, out of their view through the rift. "The true form of the being you call Grandini, Wendy. The Sky Dragon in her original state, before the worlds were sundered." Wendy gasped, taking an involuntary step forward. "Grandini? That's impossible. She disappeared years ago." "Disappeared? Yes, returned to her true home in the void between worlds, Here all the original dragons went when they could no longer sustain their forms in a single dimension." Kato's voice softened with what sounded almost like genuine compassion. "They've been waiting, Wendy. Waiting for someone to restore the wholeness that was lost." The sincerity in his tone was the most disturbing thing yet. He truly believed in his cause, however destructive it might be. "We're not helping you destroy our worlds," Naruto stated firmly. "Whatever you're planning ends now." Kato sighed, as if disappointed but not surprised. "Very well. Perhaps a demonstration will prove more persuasive than words. He made a complex gesture, and the rift began to pulse with increasing intensity. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and the air grew heavy with pressure that made breathing difficult for those without Dragon Slayer lungs. What's happening? One of the Cloud Ninja gasped, dropping to one knee as the pressure increased. He's forcing a convergence point, Orga realized. His God Slayer physiology better able to withstand the effect, creating a direct connection between three-dimensional planes simultaneously. The rift's edges began to fracture, smaller tears airing throughout the village square like cracks in glass. Through each one, glimpses of different locations became visible, some from Earthland, others from more distant parts of the shinobi world, and still others showing the same strange void realm where Kato stood. The dimensional barrier is collapsing. Wendy cried, recognizing the catastrophic pattern. If it continues, this entire area could be torn apart. Naruto acted instinctively, his sky dragon magic flaring alongside Kurama's chakra. Everyone get back. Wendy, we need to contain this. Understanding immediately, Wendy moved to his side, their magic synchronizing with practiced ease. Together, they began to generate a counter-pressure, using their Sky Dragon abilities to stabilize the fracturing dimensional boundary. Sky Dragon's secret art, they called in unison. Milky Way. Dimensional shield. Wendy continued. Heaven's breath. Barrier formation. Naruto finished. A dome of swirling wind and light formed around the central rift, isolating it from the smaller fractures and preventing their expansion. The effort was tremendous, drawing deeply on their combined power reserves. Seeing their struggle, Urza stepped forward. Requip. Heaven's Wheel armor. In a flash of light, her standard armor was replaced by a more elaborate silver set with metallic wings. Dozens of swords materialized around her, forming a circle. Circle sword. Dimensional support. The blades shot forward, embedding themselves in precise points around the perimeter of Naruto and Wendy's magical dome. Each sword began to glow, creating a Ondari containment field that reinforced their efforts. Lightning God's charged particle barrier. Orga added his own power to the collaborative defense, black lightning forming a tertiary layer around the increasingly stable structure. Through it all, Kato watched from the other side of the central rift, his expression unnervingly serene. Impressive cooperation. You begin to understand that UE power comes from harmonizing opposing forces. The combined efforts of the Dragon Slayers, God Slayer, and Requip Mage gradually brought the dimensional fractures under control. The smaller rifts sealed themselves one by one, leaving only the central portal through which Kato still observed them. You've contained the immediate crisis, he acknowledged. But this was merely a taste of what is to come. The great convergence cannot be stopped, only guided or resisted, with very different outcomes for your worlds. His form began to fade, the rift slowly closing on its own. Think on what I've said. When next we meet, it will be at the center of the summoning circle, where the true Dragon King festival shall begin anew. With those ominous words, Kato vanished completely, the portal sealing itself with a final pulse of energy that dissipated harmlessly against the protective barriers they'd created. Exhausted but successful, Naruto and Wendy released their magic, the dome-dissolving NTO particles of light that rained down over the village square. Urza's swords dematerialized, and Orga's lightning faded, leaving only scorched patterns on the cobblestones to mark where their combined powers had saved Kumogakure from dimensional collapse. That, the Raikage stated into the ensuing silence, settles any question of whether we face a genuine crisis. I'll summon the 5 Cage immediately. As Cloud Ninja began securing the area and attending to civilians affected by the dimensional pressure, Naruto found himself steadying Wendy, who swayed slightly from the exertion of their combined technique. Are you okay? He asked quietly, genuine concern in his voice. She nodded, though her expression remained troubled. He mentioned Grandini. Said she was waiting in the void between worlds. Her eyes met his, filled with conflicting emotions. What if he's telling the truth about that part, Naruto? What if the dragons really are there? He had no easy answer for her. The possibility that Kato might be partially right, that his destructive plans might contain some kernel of truth, complicated an already complex situation. I don't know, he admitted finally. But whatever the truth is, Destroying two worlds to find it isn't the answer. We'll find another way, a better way, to understand what's happening. Urza approached them, her armor returning to its standard form in a flash of light. We need to regroup with the others. If Kato was right about one thing, it's that time is running short. The summoning circle he's creating across our worlds is nearly complete. Konoha, Naruto realized. He said the center is Konoha. Whatever he's planning will happen there. Orga nodded grimly. Then that's where we need to be. All of us, every dragon slayer, god slayer, and powerful wizard or ninja we can gather. As they made preparations to return to Konoha with Urza, now officially released into their custody by the Raikage, Wendy found herself drawn to the spot where the rift had been. Nothing visible remained, but her enhanced senses detected a lingering trace of familiar magic, a scent she hadn't encountered in years. Grandini, she whispered, her heart aching with conflicted longing. Are you really out there? Naruto joined her, respecting her moment of quiet contemplation but offering silent support with his presence. Without thinking, he reached for her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers in a gesture that felt as natural as breathing. Wendy looked up at him, surprise giving way to something warmer as she returned the gentle pressure of his hand. In that moment, amid crisis and uncertainty, a different kind of connection formed between them, one that transcended worlds, magic, and the growing chaos surrounding them. The sky above Kumogakure had returned to normal. The dimensional rift closed for now. But as they prepared for the journey back to Konoha, both dragon slayers knew that the true convergence was just beginning, not just between worlds, but between hearts that had found each other across the impossible divide of dimensions. Chapter 2 End.